Taehyung sat beside Jungkook's limp body on the kitchen floor, his eyes fixed on Jungkook's pale face. A mix of emotions swirled in his chest: guilt, anger, and a hint of sadness. Jungkook's eyes flickered open, his gaze locking onto Taehyung's. "Tae," he whispered, his voice barely audible. Taehyung's expression remained stoic, but a hint of tears glistened in his eyes. He didn't respond, simply staring at Jungkook as his body slowly succumbed to the poison. Suddenly, the doorbell pierced the silence. Taehyung's gaze shifted to the main door, his eyes narrowing slightly. He didn't move, didn't respond, simply waiting to see who it was. Jungkook's eyes fluttered open, his gaze locking onto Jimin's relieved face. "Taehyung?" Jungkook's weak voice whispered. Jimin's expression turned somber. "Kook, you've been out for 2 days. We were worried sick." Jungkook's eyes narrowed, his voice growing stronger. "Where's Tae, Jimin, tell me." Jimin hesitated, holding Jungkook's hand. "Calm down, first. You need to rest." Jungkook's grip on Jimin's hand tightened. "Tell me, damn it. Where's my Tae? Did you arrest him? You handled everything, right?" Jimin's eyes dropped, his voice low. "I'll tell you everything, Kook. But please, just calm down." Jungkook's eyes blazed with determination. "How did I get here, Jimin?" The doorbell pierced the silence, shattering Taehyung's numbness. He gazed blankly at the door, his mind racing. If he opened it, he'd likely face imprisonment for attempting to kill a cop. His eyes drifted to Jungkook's lifeless body, but he felt nothing, no satisfaction, no anger, just an overwhelming emptiness. Taehyung's legs carried him to the door, his movements mechanical. He opened it, his face pale, his eyes sunken. Jimin's gaze swept over Taehyung's fragile form before scanning the interior of the house. "Where's Jungkook?" Jimin stepped inside, his heart racing with a sense of foreboding. He had felt it earlier, when Jungkook mentioned Taehyung's unsettling stare that morning. Jimin's instincts had driven him to follow Jungkook, to ensure everything was okay. "Taehyung, where's Kook?" Jimin asked again, his voice firm but laced with concern. Taehyung retreated, his eyes fixed on Jimin with an unnerving intensity. Jimin's gaze scanned the area, his senses on high alert. "Jungkook. Jungkook." He called out, his voice echoing through the silence. Suddenly, the acrid smell of blood hit his nostrils, and Jimin's training kicked in. He sprinted into the kitchen, his heart sinking. "Jungkook, hey, what happened to you?" Jimin's voice cracked as he found his friend lying on the kitchen floor, his skin a pale blue. Jimin's eyes locked onto Taehyung, his expression horrified. "What did you do to him, Taehyung? You poisoned him?" Jimin's voice was a mixture of shock, anger, and despair. Taehyung stood frozen, his eyes empty, as Jimin's words hung in the air like a death sentence. Jimin's hand shook as he dialed the emergency number, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "It's an emergency," he barked into the phone, his voice cracking with panic. He gently lifted Jungkook's limp body, struggling to carry him to the nearby couch. Jungkook's head lolled against Jimin's shoulder, his eyes glazed over. Jimin's heart racing with fear, he laid Jungkook down, checking his pulse. Taehyung's numb expression ignited Jimin's anger. You bloody idiot." Jimin roared, his face twisted in rage. "It wasn't Jungkook who hurt you. We were on a mission at the hotel, and your ex-husband was the one enjoying the luxury suite with a bag full of cash. Jungkook saved you, Taehyung. He took the blame to protect you, because he loves you." Jimin's voice broke as he gazed at Jungkook's pale face. "And this is how you repay him? You kill the one person who truly cares for you?" Taehyung's eyes widened, tears streaming down his face as the truth hit him. Jimin's anger gave way to desperation as he rushed to Jungkook's side, checking his vitals. "We need to get him to the hospital, now." Jimin yelled to the others, who rushed to help. As they loaded Jungkook into the vehicle, Jimin's eyes locked onto Taehyung's, filled with a mix of anger and sorrow. The sound of sirens faded into the distance, leaving Taehyung alone, surrounded by the echoes of Jimin's words. Tears flowed down his face as the weight of his actions crushed him. Taehyung's mind recoiled in anguish as he thought back to that fateful night. From the moment he sipped that juice to the moment he woke up in Jungkook's arms, what happened during those lost hours? The void in his memory seemed to suffocate him, filling him with an unbearable sense of ignorance. Taehyung's eyes widened in horror as he stumbled backward, his legs buckling beneath him. He crashed to the floor, a heart-wrenching scream tearing from his throat. Did I really harm an innocent man? He sobbed, his body shaking with convulsive tremors. A man who risked everything to protect me? Taehyung's eyes blazed with self-loathing. Why did I believe the lies? Why did I trust my own twisted perceptions? He pounded his fists against the floor. In the darkness, Taehyung's cries mingled with the haunting question, what have I done? Jimin paced anxiously outside the hospital room, his eyes fixed on Jungkook's mother, who was crying uncontrollably. Will you tell me what happened to my son, Jimin? She begged, her voice trembling. Did that boy? Before she could finish, Jimin's phone rang, shrill in the tense atmosphere. He answered, his expression grim. Sir, Mr. Joon spotted at the airport. He just arrived, his team member reported. Jimin's eyes narrowed. Follow him, he ordered, his mind racing. He turned back to Jungkook's mother, who was still waiting for answers. Why did he do this, and you're not taking any action? She demanded, her anger and fear boiling over. Jimin took a deep breath before revealing the truth. Auntie, it was your elder son, Joon, who wronged Taehyung. Before you condemn him, remember what Hyung did. Taehyung's actions weren't entirely his fault. The revelation shocked Jungkook's mother, her face contorting in anguish. Joon, my son Joon, how could he? She wept, her world shattered. The poor woman was torn apart, her emotions in turmoil. How can I loathe Taehyung for what he did to Jungkook, when my own son, Joon, wronged him so horribly? She lamented, her voice cracking with anguish. And yet, how can I forgive Taehyung for harming my Jungkook? As she cried, a sudden realization struck her. Jimin, Taehyung, isn't he alone at home? She asked, alarm creeping into her voice. Jimin's eyes widened in horror. Damn it, he muttered, rushing to his car. Meanwhile, Taehyung sat in the darkness, his mind consumed by a single thought. Jungkook's survival. He was paralyzed with fear, unable to flee or end his life until he knew Jungkook was safe. As he waited, the sound of footsteps echoed through the house, growing louder. The click of shoes on the floor was followed by the flick of a light switch. Taehyung's eyes adjusted slowly, and he beheld an unfamiliar figure standing in the doorway. His heart racing, he stumbled to his feet, clutching his clothes in terror. The stranger's eyes locked onto Taehyung's, and a voice echoed through the silent room. You? Joon stepped into the house, his eyes scanning the dimly lit interior. That's when he saw him, the boy he had encountered just a week ago, standing frozen in fear. What are you doing in my house? Joon demanded, his voice firm but laced with curiosity. Taehyung's eyes darted around the room. Panic etched on his face. He took a step back, his eyes fixed on Joon with a growing sense of dread. Joon's gaze never left Taehyung's face as he took deliberate steps closer. You don't remember me, do you? He asked, a sly smile spreading across his face. Taehyung's body trembled, his voice barely above a whisper. Who are you? Joon's eyes gleamed with amusement. Oh, you really don't remember. How refreshing. Taehyung yanked his hand away, taking another step back. His eyes frantically searched for an escape. Hey, I'm not going to harm you, Joon said, his tone dripping with insincerity. Where is everyone? And how did you end up here? Taehyung's voice trembled. Please, just go away. Joon's laughter sent shivers down Taehyung's spine. Oh, that's how you sound. I missed it that night. You were so lifeless. But now it's going to be fun. Taehyung's eyes widened in horror as the truth dawned on him. You were the one? Joon's smirk grew wider. Come, be a good boy now. He extended his hand, his eyes scanning Taehyung's trembling form. Taehyung's fear gave way to adrenaline as he turned and sprinted out of the house. Joon's laughter echoed through the night air as he chased after Taehyung. The thrill of the hunt coursed through his veins, his senses heightened. What a kick, he muttered to himself, his eyes fixed on Taehyung's fleeing form. Jungkook's eyes blazed with urgency, his fist clenched in agitation. Where's Taehyung, Jimin? Is he safe? Jimin's expression softened. He's right outside, Kook. Your twink is safe, but he's been crying non-stop. Jungkook's eyes sparkled, his gaze locking onto the door. His body jerked forward, eagerness etched on his face. Jimin's hand on his shoulder restrained him. Kook, before I call Taehyung, there's something else you should know, Jimin said, his voice measured. Jungkook's eyes narrowed, his attention snapping back to Jimin. What is it? Jimin's expression turned somber. The chase, it ended with Joon's life. Jungkook's eyes widened, his face pale. What? He whispered. Jimin's voice was low. His obsession with Taehyung drove him straight under a truck on the highway. The room fell silent, the only sound Jungkook's ragged breathing. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Thank you, Jimin, for handling everything. Their eyes locked, a silent understanding passing between them. There was more to Joon's death than met the eye, but Jungkook wouldn't pry, and Jimin wouldn't reveal the truth. Jimin stood, a soft smile on his face. I'll send Taehyung in. That's why you gained consciousness, after all, to see him. Jimin turned to exit, but not before snapping a crisp salute. Welcome back, Chief. This salute was more than just a gesture of respect, it was a nod to the fact that justice had been served. For Jungkook, and for Taehyung, the knowledge that Joon was no longer a threat brought a sense of relief, a sense of closure. It was a reminder that every victim seeks justice not because it erases the trauma, but because it satisfies the mind and restores self-esteem. It was a testament to the importance of holding perpetrators accountable, of ensuring that cruelty is met with consequences. In that moment, Jimin's salute was a silent acknowledgement of the long and difficult journey that Jungkook and Taehyung had endured. It was a recognition that, finally, they could begin to heal. Every survivor yearns for justice, not to diminish the scars of their past, but to reclaim their shattered sense of self. It's a quest for solace, a longing to restore the dignity that was brutally stripped away. For every act of cruelty, there must be accountability, a reckoning that echoes through the ages. This is why it's paramount that perpetrators face the fullest extent of the law, that they're held accountable for the irreparable harm they've inflicted. And when justice is finally served, and the monster that haunted their dreams is no more, survivors can breathe a sigh of liberation, a sense of relief that's hard-won and long overdue. Ask any survivor, and they'll attest to this truth: justice is not just an abstract concept, but a lifeline that pulls them from the depths of despair. It's a reminder that their voices matter, that their pain is acknowledged, and that they are seen. To all survivors and victims of brutality, may you be surrounded by love, support, and kindness. May you find the strength to keep moving forward, and may you be blessed with a life that flourishes beyond the shadows of your past. They could begin to heal. His his love, his everything, could finally begin to find solace, to rediscover the joy that had been brutally stolen from him. And all through it, Jungkook would be there, an unwavering presence, a safe haven. Second chapter of their life. What will my Tae's expression be? Like now he knows that it wasn't me who hurt him? Will he be relieved? Angry? Confused? Will he feel betrayed that I didn't protect him? That I let someone else harm him? His eyes, those beautiful, broken eyes, will they sparkle with tears of relief, or will they cloud over with anger and hurt? Will he take a step back, away from me, or will he collapse into my arms, seeking comfort and solace? And what about his voice, his sweet, gentle voice? Will it tremble with emotion, or will it ring out with accusation? Will he whisper my name, or will he scream it in anguish? My Tae, my love, my everything, how will you react when you learnt the truth? Jungkook's gaze remained fixed on the ceiling, his frustration palpable. I hate being bedridden, he muttered, his voice laced with resentment. The soft click of the door opening was followed by the hesitant sound of footsteps. They stopped at a distance, and Jungkook could sense Taehyung's unease, his ragged breathing, and the stifled sob that threatened to escape. Come, Jungkook said, his voice a little softer now. Sit with me. Taehyung obeyed, his movements slow and deliberate. Jungkook's hands curled into fists as he continued to stare at the ceiling. You still want me to die, don't you? Jungkook asked, his tone tinged with bitterness. Taehyung's head shook violently, his eyes welling up with tears. No, Jungkook, he whispered, his voice trembling. Jungkook's gaze remained fixed on the ceiling. You still hate me? Taehyung shook his head again, more emphatically this time. No, I don't hate you, he protested, his voice cracking. Jungkook finally turned to face Taehyung, his eyes locking onto his. Then accept your fate with me, he said, his voice low and husky. Taehyung froze, his eyes wide with fear, uncertainty, and a deep-seated vulnerability. Jungkook's heart twisted in his chest as he took in the sight of his beloved Taehyung, looking so fragile, so scared, and so utterly unsure. It was a look that Jungkook never wanted to see on Taehyung's face again. Taehyung's voice trembled as he spoke. I'm sorry. Jungkook's gaze locked onto his eyes burning with intensity. My question is, do you accept me as your husband? Taehyung's eyes dropped, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm not sure, I don't know, I don't deserve you. Jungkook's voice grew firmer, his words laced with conviction. Do you accept me as your husband? Taehyung's response was hesitant, his words stumbling out. You're already my. Jungkook's face lit up with a radiant smile as he sat up on the bed, his movements fluid. Okay, I'll change the question then. Taehyung's concern was palpable as he reached out to Jungkook. You need rest. Please, take care of yourself. Lie down. Jungkook's eyes sparkled with mischief as he teased, why won't you help your husband? A sudden grimace crossed his face, and he clutched his stomach. Ouch, damn. Taehyung's worry deepened, his voice laced with concern. What happened, Appa? Jungkook's smile returned, his eyes glinting with amusement. What did you call me? Taehyung's face flushed, his voice barely above a whisper. Oh Appa. Jungkook's gaze locked onto Taehyung's, his voice low and husky. Your poison is too strong, my gut is still paining. Taehyung's eyes dropped, shame-written across his face. I'm ashamed of all what I did to you. Jungkook's voice was gentle, his words soothing. What was the poison's name, Tae? Taehyung's response was hesitant, his voice laced with uncertainty. I think I should call the doctor. Jungkook's smile was reassuring, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Twink, I don't need a doctor, I need your touch, your love. He reached out, his fingers intertwining with Taehyung's as he pecked those fingers softly. Jungkook's voice was low, his words filled with conviction. Don't think too much, Tae. I'm your husband, I have this right. Taehyung's eyes welled up with tears, his voice cracking. I'm not, Appa, you deserve better. Send me back home, please, or do you want to punish me? Jungkook's gaze locked onto Taehyung's, his voice firm. Right, you definitely are going to get a punishment. I almost died, baby, not living a life with you. Do you understand it? Taehyung's body shook, his sobs echoing through the room, his face hid in his palm, his cries growing louder. Jungkook's voice was soothing, his words gentle. Twink, you have my shoulder to cry on, and my chest to hide in. Will you claim your rights, or should I teach you how to claim? Taehyung's sobs intensified, his body trembling as Jungkook held him close. Taehyung's voice trembled, his words barely above a whisper. I saw him, Appa, he. Jungkook's eyes locked onto Taehyung's, his expression softening. Shoo, Tae, it's all over, he whispered, his voice filled with comfort and reassurance. Taehyung's eyes welled up with tears as Jungkook's arms enveloped him, holding him close. Jungkook's warmth and love surrounded Taehyung, shielding him from the pain and fear. It's done, my love, Jungkook whispered, his breath caressing Taehyung's ear. You're safe now. I'm here. As Tae buried my face in his chest. Jungkook's heartbeat was the only sound that mattered. It was a reminder that Tae was alive, that he was loved, and that he was his. Jungkook's voice was filled with amusement, his words teasing. Oh, too much pain, Twink. Enough. The hospital people are going to kick us out, your frequency is getting beyond the permitted sound frequency. Taehyung's hand rose, his palm connecting with Jungkook's biceps in a gentle squeeze. Jungkook's face sank into Taehyung's lustrous hair, his arms wrapping tighter around his waist. Jungkook's thoughts whispered, finally, I got you, Tae. You are Jungkook's. His lips curved into a triumphant smile as he held Taehyung close, his heart filled with love and possession. The silence in the house was deafening. Jungkook's mom sat numb in a corner, her eyes vacant, as if she'd given up on life itself. Taehyung moved with hesitant steps, a bowl of steaming hot soup clutched in his trembling hands. He approached Jungkook's room, his heart racing with every step. Jungkook looked up as Taehyung stood before him, his eyes sunken, his face pale. Jungkook shifted slightly, making space for Taehyung to sit beside him. Taehyung's eyes welled up with tears as he sat down, his fingers wrapping around the spoon. As he brought the spoon to Jungkook's lips, his hand shook violently, fear etched on his face. Jungkook's eyes locked onto Taehyung's, his gaze softening. He held Taehyung's wrist, guiding the spoon into his mouth. Taehyung gulped, his eyes never leaving Jungkook's. Why are you crying now, Tae? Jungkook asked, his voice low, husky. Taehyung mumbled a sorry, his voice barely audible. I should be the one to be sorry, Tae, Jungkook whispered, his eyes filled with regret. I should be the one ashamed of what my brother did to you. Jungkook's voice trailed off, his eyes closing as he leaned against the bed. Taehyung slowly exited the room, his heart heavy with emotion. He walked to his own room, the darkness enveloping him like a shroud. He lay on the bed, the lights off, but his mind refused to shut down. Joon's face haunted him, his evil smile etched in Taehyung's memory like a scar. Taehyung startled, his body jerking upright as if Joon was still there, lurking in the shadows. He screamed, quickly turning on the lights, his eyes frantically searching the room. He trembled, his eyes squishing shut as he brought his knees up, curling up into a ball, his face buried in his knees. Jungkook rushed into the room, his heart racing as he heard Taehyung's terrified scream. Tae, he whispered, his voice laced with concern. Taehyung's eyes were wide with fear, his body trembling like a leaf. Jungkook's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched in anger. He knew that Taehyung had finally remembered the horrors he'd endured. He is here. Taehyung stuttered, his eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape. Jungkook's heart ached as he watched Taehyung's fragile state. Jungkook inched closer, his voice soft, reassuring. Tae, there's no one here. It's just me. Taehyung's gaze locked onto Jungkook's, his eyes welling up with tears. Jungkook's arms enveloped Taehyung, holding him close as he whispered, I'm here, Tae. You're safe. Taehyung's body was rigid, his fists clenched as if ready to defend himself. Jungkook's hold tightened, his voice firm. It's me, Tae. That man is no more. Slowly, Taehyung's body relaxed, his head laying against Jungkook's chest. I want to go to my grandma, please, Taehyung mumbled, his voice barely audible. Jungkook's mom appeared at the door, her eyes filled with concern. What happened, Kook? Jungkook turned, his expression softening. Nothing, Mom. Tae was just scared. His mom's gaze lingered on Taehyung before she nodded slowly. Don't leave him alone in the room, Kook. She turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Jungkook's jaw clenched, his eyes never leaving Taehyung's face. You aren't going anywhere away from me, Twink. You get me? Taehyung's eyes widened, his body trembling. Jungkook's smile was gentle, his voice filled with emotion. I want to share my bed with the person I married, the person I love. I want to wake up every morning with you by my side. Jungkook's arms wrapped around Taehyung, pulling him close as he whispered, Come with me, Tae. Let's go to our room. Taehyung hesitated, his eyes searching Jungkook's. Jungkook's smile was reassuring, his voice soft. Trust me, Tae. I'll keep you safe. Jungkook dragged Taehyung to their room, his arms never leaving Taehyung's waist. As they reached the bed, Jungkook's eyes locked onto Taehyung's, his voice filled with emotion. Sleep now, Tae. Close your eyes. I'm here. Taehyung laid on one side of the bed, his eyes struggling to stay closed. Every time he closed his eyes, they snapped open, fear etched on his face. Jungkook's eyes never left Taehyung's, his voice whisper soft. Appa? Taehyung turned, his eyes searching Jungkook's. Jungkook's arms spread wide, inviting Taehyung to come closer. If you trust me a bit, come. Taehyung slowly moved to Jungkook's side, his eyes locked onto Jungkook's. Jungkook's voice was laced with emotion. I wish I could tell you, Tae, that is your husband, I'd never hurt you, but I know that means nothing to you now. My brother, your ex-husband, he took that promise and shattered it into a million pieces. So I won't promise you that, Tae. Instead, I'll show you, every day, every moment, that I'm different. That I'll love and protect you, no matter what. As Taehyung curled into Jungkook's side, Jungkook's arms enveloped him, holding him close. Feel home, Tae, he whispered, his voice filled with emotion. Taehyung's fingers curled around Jungkook's shirt, his eyes slowly drifting shut. Jungkook's heart swelled with love, his arms tightening around Taehyung. I've got you, Tae, he whispered, his voice filled with promise. I'll never let you go. Morning sunlight filtered through the window as Taehyung's gentle voice whispered, Appa, Appa. Jungkook stirred, his voice laced with sleep. Taehyung's tiny figure snuggled closer, his voice soft. It's morning. Jungkook's arms wrapped around Taehyung, pulling him into a warm embrace. Is it? Then let's cuddle till night. Taehyung's laughter was music to Jungkook's ears. You said you have a meeting at 9, it's 6 already. Jungkook's voice was filled with mock annoyance. Twink, now why do you remind me of something unholy? Taehyung's eyes sparkled with mirth. Meeting isn't unholy. Jungkook's smile was sheepish. The numbers you said are, leave it. No point. You are my naive boy. Taehyung's gentle hands pushed against Jungkook's chest. Appa, get up. Jungkook's voice was husky, his words laced with desire. Don't spoil the mood. As Taehyung untangled himself, Jungkook's gaze followed him, his eyes burning with intensity. Tae, you should resume studies from tomorrow. I've talked to the principal. Jungkook's voice was filled with excitement. We'll do some shopping today, evening. Till then, I'm busy. Taehyung's eyes lit up. I can go with Mom. Jungkook's possessiveness was palpable. No need. I'll take you, oh yes, Park Jimin. Started his daily annoyance. He scrolled through his phone, his eyes scanning the messages. His words sensual. Wanna join me for a bath, Tae? Taehyung's face flushed, his voice barely above a whisper. Jungkook. Jungkook's laughter was low, his eyes crinkling at the corners. How long I've to wait, cuddle is all what I got, remember, Tae, I'm 28 already. By the time you prepare yourself, I'll be of no use. Taehyung's voice was laced with amusement. Only this thought runs inside your head. Jungkook's gaze locked onto Taehyung's, his eyes burning with intensity. This is nothing compared to what I imagine. Tell me when can I see you, you? No, willingly walking to me for. Taehyung's face fell, his eyes avoiding. Jungkook's. He fidgeted with his fingers, his voice barely audible. Jungkook's voice was low, his words filled with longing. Okay, leave it. I'll wait. Easy. He pecked Taehyung's temple, his lips soft. Later, as Jungkook worked out in his home gym, Taehyung peeked in, his eyes widening at the sight of Jungkook's sweat-glistened body. Jungkook's eyes locked onto Taehyung's, his voice low. Twink, stop this hide and seek, I saw you, come in. Taehyung's face flushed as he walked in, his eyes fixed on Jungkook's bare chest. When will you talk without stuttering? He took the water bottle from Taehyung, his fingers brushing against his. Taehyung's voice was barely above a whisper. Why do you work out shirtless? Jungkook's gaze locked onto Taehyung's, his eyes burning with intensity. Shouldn't I? I feel uncomfortable with clothes hugging my sweat-soaked skin, I prefer you instead. Taehyung's eyes dropped, his voice laced with shyness. I don't like to work out. Jungkook's smile was reassuring. You will soon, I'll make you do that, I'm going to take up the grooming job. Taehyung's giggles filled the air. As Jungkook finished his workout, Taehyung's eyes roamed over his body, his face flushing. Jungkook's voice was low, his words filled with desire. Are you going somewhere, all dressed up in style? And this wet hair makes you even hotter. Taehyung's voice was barely audible. I like to dress up, I do. Jungkook's gaze never wavered, his voice low and husky. You stutter again, Twink. Hold on. He tipped Taehyung's chin up, his eyes locking onto Taehyung's dreamy gaze. Twink, what's it? I can smell the hormones, I can feel this heart fluttering. My twink is inviting me, right? Taehyung's face flushed, his voice barely above a whisper. And no. I was just passing by. Jungkook's smile was sensual, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Twink, tell me if it's a yes, I badly want to explore you. He leaned in, his lips inches from Taehyung's. Taehyung's back pressed against the wall, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and desire. Jungkook's voice was low, his words husky. Tell me, Taehyung. Taehyung's voice was barely above a whisper. But this is not our bedroom, Appa. Jungkook's eyes sparkled with mischief as he looked around, closing the door and locking it. He strode back to Taehyung, his gaze burning with intensity. Now it's our room, shall we? Taehyung's cheeks flushed. But it's already morning, the sun is peeking through the window. Jungkook's smile was captivating. He sealed the curtain and turned off the light, replacing it with soft, colorful hues. Now it's dark and cozy, what if we get loud? Taehyung's voice trembled. What if? Jungkook's eyes crinkled at the corners. I'll take care of that. He turned on his tracks, the music filling the air. Now better, next time I'll include your favorite songs too, this time adjust with my favorite tracks. But you have a meeting at 9, and it's 8 already. Yeah, wait a sec. He dialed Jimin's number, his eyes never leaving Taehyung's. Park, I'll reach late, head the meeting, something urgent, man. Jimin's voice was laced with laughter. What urgency? Your husband is pregnant. Jungkook's response was dry. No, going to get him, soon. Shut up and do what I said. Hanging up the call, he turned to Taehyung, his eyes burning with desire. Sorted, are we ready now? Taehyung nodded, his tiny nod sending Jungkook's heart racing. Jungkook's smile was sensual. But there's a problem, I'm all sweaty, and you're fresh like a bud, don't demand a bath now. Taehyung's voice was barely audible. I'm okay with it. Jungkook's eyes locked onto Taehyung's, his gaze burning with intensity. That's all I needed to hear. His hands roamed over Taehyung's body, his mouth following suit. Taehyung froze, his fear palpable. Appa. Taehyung began, his voice trembling. Jungkook's response was low, his words husky. You're Appa, Tae, trust me. Taehyung closed his eyes, his heart racing. He feared the intimacy, yet Jungkook's touch was gentle, soothing. As Jungkook lifted Taehyung off the floor, laying him on the bench, Taehyung's fingers curled around Jungkook's arm. The only sound was the music playing in the background, and Jungkook's husky voice whispering, Unholy, Twink, by Sam Smith. Do you like this song? Taehyung's voice was barely audible. I do, Appa, ah. Jungkook's groan was filled with pleasure, his hands holding Taehyung's hips in place. You'll feel good, Tay-Tay, you will look into my eyes, look at me, Twink, please. As I gazed into Jungkook's eyes, I felt his length hitting deep inside me, sending shivers down my spine. He threw his head back, groaning each time I clenched around him, his eyes burning with desire. His eyes were the most beautiful and sincerest I'd ever seen. How could I have missed this before? I was killing myself, but he assured me I still deserved the best. He took all the pain for me, never once showing disgust, even knowing I'd been used by his own brother. Jungkook was a trap from which I could never escape, and I didn't want to. He wouldn't let me go, and now I had to forget about the past too. I wanted to live with him, to gift him myself. This was the beginning of my life with Jungkook. I raised my hand, my fingers trembling, and touched his chest. He smiled, holding my hand flat above his heart. His heart flipped beneath my palm as he pounded inside me, his eyes peering into mine. One hand propped beside my head, the other hand switched from my hip to the hand resting on his chest. He cupped my hand, moving it on his chest, his eyes fluttering close. Oh, Twink, he groaned, his voice husky with desire. I closed my eyes, feeling euphoric, leaving me wanting more of him. I clenched my fist around his flesh as he leaned against my body completely. He watched me hit high, his lips forming a smile. Baby. He whispered, his lips against mine. Appa. I cried into his mouth, releasing myself, our lips locked in a passionate kiss. Jungkook's warm breath brushed against Taehyung's lips as he watched him, his eyes filled with adoration. He leaned in, sealing their lips together. Twink, I love you so much. I love you too, Jungkook, Taehyung whispered, his heart skipping a beat. Jungkook's smile was radiant. Call me Appa, I love it, especially when we become one, like. He pulled halfway out and thrust hard, making Taehyung scream. Appa. Jungkook's smirk was mischievous. Yes, Twink, how was it? Taehyung bit his lips, his cheeks flushing. You need to take rest. Jungkook said as he carried Taehyung to their bedroom, laying him down on the bed. He pecked Taehyung's lips softly. I'll send some medicine, collect it. Or else Mom will start an investigation. As Jungkook got ready for work, Taehyung watched him, his eyes roaming over his formals. Reach the office, we'll go from there, he said, not getting any response from Taehyung. He turned to Taehyung, his eyes questioning. What are you admiring, your husband's charm? Taehyung patted the mattress, inviting Jungkook to come closer. Come here. Jungkook scooted close, his eyes locked onto Taehyung's. Yes, tell me. Taehyung began buttoning up Jungkook's shirt, his fingers brushing against his chest. Jungkook's eyes never left Taehyung's, his gaze burning with intensity. I thought you would enjoy me helping you get ready, Taehyung said. Jungkook's smile was captivating. Yes, I'm enjoying it, provided you do it every day. As Taehyung nodded Jungkook's tie, Jungkook's eyes sparkled with amusement. Perfect, don't stare at me. You gotta go now. Taehyung smiled, his heart full of love. Just go, Appa, let me sleep. I'm tired, I'll charge up for tonight. Jungkook's eyes widened, his voice filled with excitement. Twink. I liked it. Taehyung waved him off, his smile wide. Goo. As Jungkook put on his blazer, his eyes fixated on Taehyung, his voice filled with emotion. Can I take a long leave, John Taehyung? Taehyung smiled, his heart skipping a beat. Just go, Appa. I'll call you. Taehyung nodded, his smile wide. As Jungkook reached the door, he turned around, his eyes wet and warm. Twink, I'm loving this life, it's more beautiful than I imagined. Thank you. Taehyung nodded, his smile wide, his heart full of love. Jungkook's voice was barely above a whisper. Baby, that smile, I need to go, focus, man, focus. He mumbled to himself, closing the door behind him. Later that evening, Taehyung texted Jungkook, his heart skipping a beat. Appa, I'm waiting. Come soon. Jungkook's response was immediate. 15 minutes more, come to my cabin, Tae. Taehyung decided to wait in the car, scared to face the people in the office. Once he was there as someone else's husband, and now. Here's the rewritten scene. As Taehyung waited, he was snapped out of his thoughts by a knock on the car window. It was one of the officers. Hello, Taehyung, he said, his voice friendly. Waiting for the chief? Taehyung got out of the car, his heart racing. Yes. The officer's expression turned sympathetic. Oh, sorry, husband, new one. By the way, day one is still in a coma, did you visit him? Taehyung stood silent, his heart heavy. The officer's expression turned ugly. Such a gold digger you are, Taehyung, husband was gunned down and you trapped the billionaire, that too, the chief of police in Seoul. Wow, many tried here for him, none were successful, but you.